The universe shouldn't exist, or rather, it shouldn't exist in a form that allows stars, planets, chemistry, or life. The constants of nature, gravity, electromagnetism, the masses of particles, the strength of nuclear forces, are set to precise values. Change any of them by even a tiny fraction, and the universe collapses into chaos. Stars don't form, atoms don't bond, chemistry doesn't work, life becomes impossible. Yet somehow, against astronomical odds, every constant is perfectly calibrated. The electron's mass, the strength of gravity, the cosmological constant, all fine-tuned to 1 part in trillions. This is not a metaphor. The physics is real, and it demands an explanation. Is the universe designed for life? Is there a cosmic architect who set the dials just right? Or are we living in one universe among trillions, where only the rare fine-tuned ones produce observers like us? This is the fine-tuning problem, and it's one of the deepest mysteries in cosmology. The universe is incredibly specific, not just in the sense that it has particular laws of physics, but that those laws are calibrated with shocking precision. If you change the strength of gravity by 1 part in 10 or 40, stars wouldn't form. If the electromagnetic force were slightly stronger, chemical bonds wouldn't work. If the strong nuclear force were 2% weaker, atomic nuclei would fly apart. No carbon, no oxygen, no chemistry, no life. These aren't vague possibilities. They're the results of detailed physics calculations and computer simulations. The universe sits on a knife's edge, and that terrifies and fascinates physicists in equal measure. Let's start with gravity. Gravity is the weakest of the 4 fundamental forces, 36 orders of magnitude weaker than electromagnetism. Yet it dominates on cosmic scales because it's always attractive and acts on all matter. If gravity were slightly stronger, stars would burn hotter and die faster. The sun would last only a few million years instead of billions. Life wouldn't have time to evolve. If gravity were slightly weaker, stars wouldn't ignite at all. Gas clouds would never compress enough to trigger fusion. No stars means no heavy elements, no planets, no life. The window for gravity's strength is incredibly narrow. Now consider the cosmological constant. This is the energy density of empty space, what drives the universe's accelerating expansion. It's measured to be about 10^120 in Planck units. Theory naively predicts it should be 10^120 times larger. That's a discrepancy of 120 orders of magnitude, the worst prediction in the history of physics. If the cosmological constant were even slightly larger, the universe would have expanded so fast that galaxies, stars, and planets never formed. Matter would be too spread out. If it were negative, the universe would have recollapsed in a big crunch almost immediately. Yet, it's positive, tiny, and just right for structure formation. Why? The strong nuclear force binds quarks into protons and neutrons, and binds protons and neutrons into atomic nuclei. If it were 2% weaker, deuterium, an isotope of hydrogen, wouldn't be stable. Without deuterium, stars can't fuse hydrogen into helium efficiently. No stars. If the strong force were 2% stronger, protons would bind so tightly that almost all hydrogen in the early universe would have fused into helium. No hydrogen left for water, organic molecules, or long-lived stars. Carbon and oxygen, the basis of life, wouldn't exist. Then there's the fine structure constant, which governs electromagnetism. It's approximately 137. If it were slightly different, electron orbitals would change, altering chemistry. Molecules like DNA couldn't form. If it were just 4% larger, carbon wouldn't be stable. A universe without carbon is a universe without life as we know it. The mass ratio of the electron to the proton also matters. It's about 1 to 1836. If electrons were heavier, atoms would be smaller, chemistry would be different, and molecules would be less stable. If electrons were lighter, atoms would be larger and more fragile. Again, chemistry as we know it wouldn't work. Even the number of spatial dimensions is fine-tuned. In 2 dimensions, complex structures can't form. No circulatory systems, no brains. In 4 or more dimensions, atoms and orbits become unstable. Planets wouldn't orbit stars stably. Electron orbitals would spiral into nuclei. Only in 3 spatial dimensions does stable complexity emerge. Why 3? We don't know. The list goes on. The neutron is slightly heavier than the proton. If it were the other way around, protons would decay into neutrons, and atoms wouldn't exist. The ratio of dark matter to ordinary matter must be in a narrow range for galaxies to form. The density of the early universe had to be precise to within 1 part in 10 to 60. Too dense, and it collapses, too sparse, and nothing clumps together. This is the fine-tuning problem. The universe's fundamental constants appear arbitrarily chosen, yet they must fall within tiny ranges for the universe to be habitable. The odds of this happening by chance are astronomically small. So small that many physicists consider it the most disturbing problem in cosmology. It demands an explanation. And there are 3 main contenders: design, necessity, and multiverse. Explanation 1. Design. The design argument is ancient, but fine-tuning gives it new force. If the universe is fine-tuned for life, maybe it was tuned by an intelligent creator. Just as a watch implies a watchmaker, a fine-tuned universe implies a tuner. This is the modern version of the teleological argument. Proponents argue that design is the simplest explanation. One designer with intentions can account for all the fine-tuning at once. No need for exotic physics or infinite universes. God set the constants, and here we are. Critics counter that design doesn't explain anything, it just relabels the mystery. Who designed the designer? If God is fine-tuned to create universes, doesn't that require explanation too? Theists reply that God is necessary, uncaused, and self-existent. But atheists argue this is special pleading. Why can't the universe itself be necessary? Why add an extra layer? There's also the problem of intent. If the universe is designed for life, it's a terrible design. Most of the universe is lethal: vacuum, radiation, extreme temperatures. Even Earth is mostly inhospitable. The vast majority of cosmic space and time is empty, cold, and dead. If a designer wanted to create life, why make it so rare and fragile? A theist might respond that the design goal isn't maximal life, but the possibility of life. The universe is tuned to allow life, not to be full of it. Still, it's a strange choice for an omnipotent being. Explanation 2. Necessity. Maybe the constants aren't arbitrary. Maybe there's a deeper theory, a theory of everything that fixes the constants. Just as the orbit of Earth is determined by gravity and initial conditions, maybe the constants of nature are determined by a more fundamental law. In this view, the universe couldn't have been different. The constants are necessary consequences of deeper physics. There's no fine-tuning because there's no freedom. The universe had to be this way. String theory is sometimes invoked here. String theory predicts extra dimensions and suggests that fundamental constants depend on the geometry of those extra dimensions. Different geometries give different constants, but string theory doesn't single out one geometry. It allows perhaps 10 to 500 different solutions, the landscape of string vacua. So instead of removing fine-tuning, string theory multiplies it. Now you have to explain why our universe is in one of the rare habitable corners of this vast landscape. Some physicists hope for a unique, final theory with no free parameters. A theory so constrained by mathematical consistency that only one set of constants is possible. But no such theory exists yet. And even if it did, you'd still have to explain why that particular theory is the one that describes our universe. Why those mathematical structures and not others? Explanation. 3. Multiverse. The multiverse hypothesis says there are many universes, possibly infinitely many, with different constants. Most universes are sterile. A tiny fraction have the right constants for life. We live in one of those rare universes, not because it's special, but because we can only exist in such a universe. This is observer selection bias. If you're a conscious observer asking, "Why is my universe fine-tuned?" the answer is, because you couldn't exist in a non-fine-tuned one. The multiverse is like a cosmic lottery. Most tickets lose, but someone has to win. And the winner inevitably marvels at their luck, not realizing billions of others lost. There are several versions of the multiverse. Eternal inflation suggests that inflation, the rapid expansion right after the Big Bang, never completely stops. Different regions stop inflating at different times, creating pocket universes with different physical constants. Our universe is one pocket. This is motivated by real physics, inflationary cosmology, and is taken seriously by many cosmologists. The string landscape multiverse arises from string theory's many possible vacuum states. Each vacuum corresponds to a universe with different constants. If all these vacua are realized somewhere, you have a multiverse. The many worlds interpretation of quantum mechanics suggests that every quantum measurement spawns new branches of reality. Every possible outcome occurs in some branch. This creates a multiverse of quantum branches, though it's less clear how constants differ between branches. Max Tegmark's Level 4 multiverse proposes that every mathematically consistent structure exists as a physical reality. If true, all possible universes exist, and fine-tuning is explained anthropically, we're in one compatible with observers. Critics of the multiverse argue it's unfalsifiable. If other universes are causally disconnected from ours, we can never observe them. How can you do science on something you can't test? Proponents reply that the multiverse is a consequence of well-tested theories, like inflation and string theory. You don't test the multiverse directly, you test the theories that predict it. If those theories are right, the multiverse follows. It's like testing evolutionary theory predicts fossils. You don't observe evolution directly, but you see its consequences. Another objection. The multiverse doesn't explain fine-tuning, it just multiplies entities. Instead of one fine-tuned universe, you have 10⁵ universes, most of which are wasted. Isn't that uneconomical? Proponents counter that economy of entities, Occam's razor, should be balanced against economy of explanations. One simple rule, all vacuum states are realized, generates many universes but is simpler than one universe with inexplicably perfect constants. There's also a statistical problem. If there are infinitely many universes, some will be much simpler than ours, but still habitable. For example, a universe with only a single galaxy and a few stars could support life. Why are we in a universe with billions of galaxies? Shouldn't we expect to be in the simplest possible habitable universe? This is the Boltzmann brain problem. In an infinite multiverse, random quantum fluctuations could create disembodied brains with false memories far more often than evolving intelligent life through normal processes. If multiverse statistics favor Boltzmann brains, then you're probably one, which is absurd. This suggests something is wrong with the multiverse reasoning, but physicists haven't resolved it yet. The Anthropic principle. Central to the multiverse explanation is the Anthropic principle. The weak Anthropic principle is uncontroversial. We observe a universe compatible with our existence because we couldn't observe one that isn't. This is selection bias. The strong anthropic principle is more contentious. The universe must have properties that allow observers to exist at some point. This sounds teleological, like the universe is for observers. Critics call it unscientific. Proponents argue it's just logic. If observers exist, the universe must be observer-compatible. Some physicists try to use anthropic reasoning to make predictions. For example, Steven Weinberg used anthropic reasoning to predict the cosmological constant's value before it was measured. He argued that if it's too large, galaxies don't form, so observers can't exist. He calculated the maximum value compatible with galaxy formation. When astronomers measured it in 1998, Weinberg's estimate was remarkably close. This suggests anthropic reasoning can work, at least sometimes. Alternative explanations. Some physicists reject all three explanations and search for alternatives. Lee Smolin proposed cosmological natural selection. Universes that produce many black holes reproduce because new universes are born inside black holes, speculative quantum gravity idea. Universes with constants that maximize black hole production would dominate. He argues our constants are near optimal for black hole production. Critics say this is untestable and ad hoc. Others suggest the constants change over time or space. Maybe early in the universe, constants were different. Maybe in distant regions, they vary. If so, we're in a Goldilocks zone, where constants happen to be right. This is testable. Look for variations in distant quasar spectra. So far, no confirmed variations. Is life really rare? Some scientists question whether fine-tuning is as extreme as claimed. Maybe life doesn't require carbon chemistry. Maybe silicon-based life, or even exotic chemistries in very different conditions, could arise. If life is more robust than we think, the constants don't need to be so precise. This weakens fine-tuning arguments. But we only have one example of life, Earth, so we don't know how flexible life is. Fred Adams and others have run simulations showing that even with very different constants, some kind of complex structures might emerge. Maybe not life as we know it, but something. If true, fine-tuning is less impressive. But most physicists still think the window is narrow. Living with fine-tuning. We're left with uncertainty. Is the universe designed? Is it one of many? Is it necessary? We don't know. Each explanation has strengths and weaknesses. Design postulates an unobserved entity, God. Multiverse postulates unobserved universes. Necessity postulates an unknown deeper law. None is fully satisfying. But that doesn't mean the question is meaningless. It means we're at the frontier of knowledge. Fine-tuning teaches humility. The universe didn't have to be this way. We're not entitled to exist. Our presence is contingent on dozens of finely balanced parameters. Whether that's luck, design, or selection, it's astonishing. And it reminds us to appreciate existence. You are made of carbon forged in stars, governed by forces calibrated to 1 part in billions. You are the universe reflecting on its own improbability. And whether the answer is God, multiverse, or unknown physics, that fact remains. You are here, aware, and wondering. That's the real miracle.